guys, welcome back to the vlog. Y'all know what this is. So, I'm currently reading Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, which is Sean McGuire's pen name, and this is a horror about killer mermaids. Does that not just sound like the most amazing thing ever? Basically, the premise of this book is that a couple years ago, there was this film crew who does mockumentaries on different like supernatural creatures. Like they did one on Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, and so now they are going on this expedition to do a mockumentary on these mermaids. And so they go, they think the whole thing is fake, but they go and then everyone on the crew ends up dead. And there's footage of them all being attacked by these mermaid-esque sea creatures. And then, so the book starts with now, one of the women who was on that crew, her little sister, wants to get to the bottom of what happened. So she forms a crew of her own to go out and find these mermaids and figure out what happened. So yeah, it's great so far. I'm loving it. I'm hoping to get finished before July 9th because if you watched my best romance books video, you would know that I'm hosting a romance readathon called Smut-a-thon from July 9th to the 15th, and it's just reading a bunch of romance books based off of popular romance tropes. And so that whole week, I literally have like 20 romance books that I'm hoping to get to. It's very ambitious. Let's see. That's like 9 days away. I think we can do it. I have faith in myself. Okay, so here's the plan. I need to go through and take off all the books that I want to get rid of because I do have, some of the books are double stacked and the back row are ones that I've either read and I don't want anymore, or I received from publishers or various places that I just have no interest in. So I'm gonna do that quickly right now. So these are all of the books that I decided to get rid of for one reason or another. I'm not going to go through all of them, but yeah. This makes it look like I'm in a dark cave, which in reality, this is like what my room looks like 99% of the time because I have blackout curtains and I keep it dark in here. I live like a vampire. Update, I finished a book last night and I finished another book just now. So I think in my last clip I said that I only had 24 hours left to read Into the Drowning Deep, and I finished it. Holy crap. It was so good. One thing I will say is that it was a lot scarier than I was anticipating. I don't get scared very easily. I watch horror movies all the time. Horror is my favorite genre of movies. I could probably count on one hand the number of horror movies that actually scared me. I think there's only one book or two books I've ever read that terrified me, and this is being added to the list because it was just so scary. It may not be scary to a lot of people, but for my particular fears, which are the dark, sensory deprivation, I guess would be one of them, and then the ocean, this book hit on every single one of them. So I think I explained what this book is about. There was one scene in particular that literally hit on all three of those fears that I mentioned, because there was a deaf character who went down in this like pod thing into the Mariana Trench, which is where they were. Her goal was to go down into the ocean deeper than anyone has ever been. And so, oh my god, that scene was so scary because she's going down. She describes how dark it is and how the darkness is so much more than you ever experience on the surface. I don't want to say anymore because I don't want to spoil, but it was so scary. Like, I was terrified reading that scene. I was also really surprised at the amount of diversity. There was a huge cast of characters, and every single character, their identity and their diversity, whatever it was important to their character, but it wasn't their entire character. Like I mentioned, there was two deaf characters who spoke sign language throughout the book, which was really interesting to see how she incorporated that into the story, and it played a really big part. There was a female bisexual scientist who developed a really cute relationship with a lesbian TV reporter. This book really delves a lot into science, which I thought I would have been bored by, but I was interested. I was fascinated. Even though I'm terrified of the ocean, I was still fascinated to learn more about it. So yeah, I just really liked, oh, there's a storm outside. I don't know if you can hear the thunder. I really liked this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know if there's gonna be another one. It kind of left off where this could have been the ending, or there could be more. I hope there's more. And then the book I just finished was Wicked and the Wallflower by Sarah Maclean. This was my first Sarah Maclean book, and I really liked it. I can tell now why she's so popular. Every time I mention historical romances, people in the comments recommend me Sarah Maclean. And this was her newest release. I think it just came out like a week or 2 ago, and it was really good. Basically, like, the setup is for this series is that there were 4 siblings, and their father was a duke, and he made them kind of duel for the title, and only one of them was able to win the title. And so now it's so many years later, and this book follows one of the brothers who lost the battle for the title, and he wants to get revenge on the brother who won the title. It's kind of complicated. As I'm trying to explain it, it's kind of complicated. In walks the main character, Felicity. She is the daughter of a marquess. She used to be part of like the popular high society people, but she's recently kind of been ousted, and so she's at a ball one day, and she kind of wants to get back at her friends who kicked her to the curb, so she makes up this story that she's engaged to this new duke who has arrived in town. And that's kind of where the 2 main characters cross paths, because the duke that she claims she's engaged to is the guy's brother who won the title of duke that I mentioned before. So he kind of sees her as a way to get revenge on his brother, and he comes up with this plan to get close to her, and then once they are engaged, to steal her away and ruin both of them. Yeah, that's what it's about. It was really, really good. There was a lot of banter between the 2 main characters. I loved the female main character. She was really strong and sassy, and she didn't put up with anyone's shit. I gave it 4 stars. I'm excited to read more from Sarah Maclean. Now, I started a new book that I'm so excited about. It is called Next Year in Havana by Chanel Clayton. It takes place over 2 timelines. One of them is in, I think, the 50s. A woman or a girl and her family are being exiled from Cuba after Fidel Castro came into power. And then the second timeline is present day. She has passed away, and now her granddaughter, who grew up in America but who grew up hearing all these stories about Cuba, is now going to Cuba to spread her grandmother's ashes. And it just sounds really great, and I've heard really great things about it. And it's actually, I believe it's Reese Witherspoon's book club book this month. I'm only on chapter 3, but I've already cried like 4 times. Hopefully I can finish it tonight. I think I can. Well, let's see. No, I can. I could probably finish it tonight if that's all I do for the rest of the night. And then I don't know what I'm gonna read. I've been on a roll the past couple days of finishing a book every single day, so I kind of want to see if I can keep that going. I don't know though. I feel like I'm gonna get burnt out, and I have the smut-a-thon next week, which there's a lot I'm planning on reading then, so maybe I should try to, after I finish this book, maybe I should try to take a break. Okay, so I just finished Next Year in Havana. It was so good, you guys. Oh my god. I recently said in a video that I didn't think I would ever find a book that was like The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That book was just very special and unique, and I really didn't think I would find anything like it. But this book was so good. Oh my god, I don't even know what to say right now other than oh my god. I don't know if you can tell, but I've been sobbing. Like, I cried so much throughout this book. Not because it was like particularly sad. I mean, it was kind of. It just touched on a lot of feelings I have. And I really learned a lot about Cuba. I realized I didn't know as much about it as I thought that I did, and I really love the care and attention the author put in to share the history of Cuba and what was going on. It was just really fascinating and eye-opening. It was great. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm so excited because when I got to the end of my ebook, there was a preview for the next book, which I didn't even know there was gonna be more. The next book is about the grandmother's sister, who was one of my favorite characters throughout this book. So I'm really excited that we get to see her story, I guess, because there was one really interesting detail that we got at the end of the book, and I was like, wait, I want to know more about that, because she just casually in conversation mentions that she tried to assassinate Castro. And then they just never talk about it again. So I'm really glad that we'll get more. We'll probably find out more about that and just more about her character in general, because she was really cool. But yeah, it was so good. Now I am gonna go to bed because it's really late. But the next book I'm gonna start reading, I'm gonna start it tomorrow, is going to be Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Is that what it's called? Sharp Objects? I think that's what it's called. I was not planning on reading this book, but my friends mentioned how like the HBO movie or TV show, whatever it's gonna be, is coming out on Sunday, I think. And we're gonna watch it together, and I said that I hadn't read the book and I wasn't planning on it, and they were like, oh my god, you have to. It was like the best book ever. And so I saw the audiobook was on Scribd, and it's only 9 hours, so I figured I could just listen to it tomorrow. I might as well. I have only read 2 books by Gillian Flynn. Well, actually, no, because I DNF'd Gone Girl. That might shock a lot of people, but I wasn't a fan of Gone Girl. I liked the movie. I just couldn't get into the book. And then I read her novella that's called The Grown Up. I read The Grown Up, and I actually read it twice. The first time I didn't really like it, and the second time I liked it. So I'm kind of all over the place with Gillian Flynn. We'll see how I feel about Sharp Objects.
Some girls like to keep their physique real private. Some girls wear jeans so tight cause it feels so right, yeah. Some girls...
Okay, so basically this is what I've been working on. Also, hello. So yeah, this is like my calendar spread, whatever, and then I drew this little cute cloud and a cute sun because I'm such an artiste. And then I changed up my pages red because I hated drawing in all the lines. It was a lot of work, so not gonna do that now. And then this is, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. This is the most boring bullet journal plan with me ever. Last night I read and finished Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, and I don't know if I explained what this is about. So basically it's a thriller about this journalist who, there was a murder of a little girl in her hometown, and now there is another little girl who has gone missing, so her editor gives her the assignment to return to her hometown and investigate and get the story, and she hasn't been home in a really long time, and she doesn't really talk to her family, so going home stirs up some stuff that happened in the past. I feel like I just don't like Gillian Flynn's writing. This is why I don't read thrillers very often, because when I read a thriller, the one thing I want is to be shocked. I want to not be able to figure out who the killer is, or what their motive is, or what the twist is, or just, I want to be shocked. And I don't think I have ever read a thriller that has surprised me. I always figure out who the killer is, or what the thing is, whatever it is they're investigating or you're trying to figure out. I always figure it out, and it just makes reading thrillers not fun. So yeah, I figured out who the killer was within the first like 30 pages of the book, and then it didn't take me long after that to figure out the motive. So I mean, I ended up giving this book 2 stars because it's not a bad book, and I read it in one sitting. I was listening to the audiobook and I was engaged in the story, but like I said, to me the point of a thriller is to be thrilling and shocking, and it didn't do that. So it didn't do what it was supposed to do for me, which is why I'm giving it 2 stars. But I don't know, I think other people might enjoy it. If you are the type of person who doesn't easily figure out the mystery in books, then maybe you'll enjoy this more than I did. I am, however, still excited to watch the HBO miniseries. Okay, and then this morning I woke up really early and it was storming outside, so I wanted to like snuggle in bed before I got up for the day and read a book. So I went onto Scribd and I just picked a random book that sounded interesting. It was called The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. I really want to be vague when I'm talking about what this is about because I didn't know anything about it and it was a wild ride. But it's basically about this girl who, her parents are astronauts and she was born in a spacecraft. They're traveling to another planet that is supposed to be habitable for humans. So she's born in the spacecraft. She's never been on Earth. She's lived in this spacecraft her whole life. And then when she's 11, her parents die and she's the only person left on this spacecraft. So she's pretty much manning this spacecraft all by herself, and she has very limited contact with Earth. She receives voice messages from her therapist who kind of helps her deal with everything. And then one day she finds out that NASA has sent a second spacecraft to meet up with her, so she's no longer alone. And she starts to email with the passenger on the other spacecraft and they develop a friendship and a bond. And then she finds out things aren't what it seems and that someone is lying to her. So yeah, it was really, really good. I did not know going into it that it was going to be a thriller. So I was shocked when things switched and got very intense. It was kind of scary because she's alone in this spacecraft all by herself, hurling through space. What was really cool about it too is that most of the book was her sending emails and messages to her therapist and the passenger of the other spacecraft, but the messages take like a year to transmit, so she's getting messages like a year late. That concept honestly terrified me because, like, imagine you're up in space and something goes wrong, and so like someone at NASA like sends you an email to be like, yo, shit went wrong. You're not gonna get that message for a year. Like, by the time you get it, there's nothing you can do about it. So that just really freaked me out. I really, really liked this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was just so good and unexpected, and I would have never picked it up otherwise. I had never heard anything about it, but I really liked it. If you like sci-fi and thrillers, it was really good. So now I started another book because it's still storming outside, and when it's raining, I just get in the mood to read. So I started reading Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Rowanhorse, and this is adult urban fantasy based off of like Native American culture, and it's really cool so far. The main character is like a monster hunter. There are these monsters who are stealing kids and she goes after them and hunts them down. I don't know much about it, but it's cool so far. So yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna read for the rest of today. Smutathon starts day after tomorrow, so this is probably the last book I'll be able to read before that starts. But who knows, because I've been reading a shit ton lately, like so much more than I normally do. I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, do I have a life or do I just read?